By design, we are creatures of prayer. We are condemned to prayer. Prayer is not what we do. Prayer is who we are. If you are no longer praying, it means a part of your existence died. The way man was designed, the way man was created, he was created to get by through prayer. That is, as he prays, that's how he advances. As he prays, that's how God gives him the resources that is needed in measures of grace for him to prosecute life. When you stop praying, things die. It will interest you to know that Satan was the original guardian of this province called Earth. He was the first guardian of this realm. Are you there? If you have ever read the book of Ezekiel chapter 28, you will find that he was the first warden of this dimension. It was because of his failures. He failed. And he failed woefully. And the woeful failure that he made was what got God angry, and God moved in vengeance and judgment. And it is that vengeance and judgment that led to the flood that you saw in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. Do you still remember the days of Noah? God was angry. How did he exercise his judgment in view of the anger? That scenario that you find in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, that the Bible speaks about darkness covering the face of the deep, and the Spirit of the Lord was moving over the face of the waters. That's not the beginning of this existence called Earth. And how do I know this? Are you with me? Yes. Do you remember the charge that God gave Adam in the garden? He said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish. Now why did he use the prefix re? Redeem. Do you know what redeem means? Buy back. It means something was sold out. Revive. Bring back to life. It means something died. Replenish. Repopulate. Because the population is gone. And just in case that is not a strong enough case for you. After the flood of Noah was given the same charge that Adam was given, and you will still find the same word there, replenish. I don't have time. I don't have time today. Maybe next time. Then we can enter into a few things. Then you will understand what we are talking about. So he was the warden that was in charge of this frame of reference called Earth. And then when he messed up, the judgment that came upon him was that he was cast out of heaven. And he was going to the underworld, what we call hell. So the earth is in the middle of the heavens and the underworld. And that's not on the basis of the geography that you studied in school. That's spiritual geography. According to the Bible, heaven is above. We don't know where above is. You are not with me? Because if we are going by the law of gravity and where South Africa is positioned, the direction South Africans will be pointing as above, it will be different from the direction we will be pointing. So you can't understand it by geography. It is spiritual. So in that spiritual context, heaven is considered to be where? To be above. And hell is considered to be beneath. And meanwhile, the beneath also is not. Is spiritual geography. Now, so the sentence that came on Lucifer was that he was cast into hell. And unfortunately for us, this realm called Earth is in the middle. So in keeping, that judgment was a process. In keeping with the judgment, he was displaced from the realms above, and then he now came into the middle. Before, are you there? And that middle plane is the area that he exercised guardianship over. But what God did was that he now introduced man after the reconstruction. I don't have much time, so I can't say many things here. I can't prove it because there's no time. After the reconstruction, he now added another creative day, which he did not add before, which is the sixth day. And in this creative day that he added, he now made man. He gave man a capacity that he never gave any creation of his. He never gave angels, because angels are spirits. So Lucifer is a spirit. And because Lucifer is a spirit, he will need permission from a creature that has a body of earth to be able to come into our space. He needs permission. What we call prayer is actually earthly permission for heavenly interference. Priesthood is the gateway that allows spirits legitimacy to operate in this dimension. So Satan knows the potential of man, and because of that, he visits each and every one of us to know who among us is beginning to understand his capacity. Because what was happening in the Garden of Eden, that God was coming to visit with Adam, was that he was coming for education. The same way you take your children to school. Are you there? You're not there. You know what I do whenever I notice? Let me look for what will cut from this. Yeah. Adam, unfortunately, was created an adult. He was not given the opportunity to grow like this. My young brother. What's your name? What? Huh? That's it. Okay, that name before. He wasn't given an opportunity to grow like my friend here. Adam was created like me. So you might see him moving around with biceps in the garden. He was just 3 months old. He was a big man, a small man in a big body. So even though he was big, he has the mind. Anybody with a little child here? Okay, the children are not here. The children are in another. So he was actually a child. And God was coming to educate him. And that was why God came to him in the cool of the day. And it's on the strength of this that God also has a calendar for every man. Just like Satan has a calendar for every man. When God comes, he comes to instruct, he comes to build capacities, comes to educate, so that you will understand the powers and the wiring that he has made available to you to be able to exercise guardianship in the earth and take over the position that Satan occupied previously. So Satan comes to visit every human being. So when Jesus decided that he would become man, a schedule of visitation too was open for him. But the thing about his own encounter with Jesus was that Jesus did not wait for Satan to come for him. Jesus went to look for Satan. For the Bible reveals that he was led of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. It was him that went to look for the fight, not that the fight came to him. You've been running from Satan for the past 12 years, and he's everywhere in your house. He's in your ceiling fan. He operates in the heater. It was Jesus that went in search of Satan. And you know what? When he went in search of Satan, the platform of engagement was the wilderness. And Jesus arrived in the wilderness before Satan showed up. Once upon a time, I was given the opportunity to conduct a wedding. When you bring a revivalist and ask him to preach in a wedding, sometimes you might have problems. So, I took the couple to the Garden of Eden. I showed them the texture of the Garden of Eden. I showed them the kind of trees that were in the garden. There were 3 types of trees that were in the garden. And that they had 3 different types of purposes. Then I showed them that in this garden, when man was placed in the garden, then there were colonial masters that wanted to colonize the garden. And the instrument that the colonial masters used to colonize the garden were words. So God was given an opportunity, because Adam has a sovereign will, he was given an opportunity to bring his proposal to Adam. He did that in the book of Genesis chapter 2, from verse 15. You will see God's proposal. The things he told Adam to do, the things he told Adam not to do. The limitations he gave to Adam. And in the book of Genesis chapter 3, from verse 1 to 4, Satan had his own opportunity to also read out his manifesto to Adam. I told the couple that you have labored to set up a garden. But for every garden that is set up, colonial masters. I didn't know I was prophesying. The message was a parable. Because immediately after that message, at least in the one in the book of Genesis, it was God that came first to speak. Immediately after that message, Satan spoke. And one of the parties in the marriage ran away. He took night vigils. Now, you see, what I'm saying is, you just need to be a man for Satan to be interested in you. You don't need any other thing. You don't need to be a Superman. You don't need to visit the moon before Satan becomes interested. Just in this your state, that you believe that you are not performing maximally, in this your state, he will come to you. The fact that you are a man is a sufficient invitation for Satan. For Satan visits men. So Jesus was functioning as the second Adam. And just like Satan came and tempted the first Adam, he was an object of temptation in that regard. So Jesus knew that he could not do without this engagement. He could not do without this temptation. He could not do without this conflict. So he decided that I want a conflict now. So he took a trip to the wilderness. And fortunately for Jesus, he arrived at the wilderness before the tester. Are you there? Many of you got married. And the moment you got married, you began to surf the internet to find the best location for honeymoon. For most, their search ends at Cape Town in South Africa. It's as if God went there to sculpt the landscape. He sculpted it. Sculpted the entire landscape. And then now built one mountain and built it into the clouds. If you go up there and you breathe in, you will know this is the fresh air that was in the Garden of Eden. So most people end their search for a honeymoon center right there in Cape Town. That's why after that honeymoon, there will be crisis. Because they allowed Satan to arrive the testing grounds before them. Meanwhile, Jesus did not only seek Satan out. Jesus, he arrived the place of testing before the tester. And when he arrived the place of testing, he decided to take up a spiritual regiment. And the regiment was a fasting and prayer regiment. He was not going there to fast and pray. He was going there to what? To be tempted. But when he got there, the fasting and praying aspect was a personal decision that he took in order for him to have the capacity to stand that which was coming. So instead of couples, to fast and pray first, they go to Cape Town first. By the time they are coming from Cape Town, the tester has finished all the people on his list and he now has time for them. And when situations are orchestrated from the realm of the spirit, you will need to be in the spirit to be able to contend with those situations. Every carnal approach you take to combat a situation that has its roots in the spirit will tend to futility. So, I am not here to make you feel bad. I'm just telling you that you will be tempted. Some of you are even in some strange temptations now, and the devil has locked your hand. You think you have hands, but you know they are handcuffed right now. Jesus arrived at the testing grounds before Satan. Jesus was the one that sought Satan out and wanted a moment of temptation. Jesus decided to begin praying and fasting before the tempter shows up. And the question I need to ask again is, why praying and fasting? Some of you sitting here, your life has been set in confusion. You are intelligent. You went to school. You did your master's. Some of you have your PhD already. But he has thrown your life into confusion. So you will discover that things that are orchestrated from the realm of the spirit are such that your mental power cannot handle. If you allow Satan, what he will do is that he will waste your life. If you allow him. He wants to put you in a position where you cannot function in your full capacity as a man. Because functioning in your full capacity as a man will unleash potentials and powers that have the capacity to resist him, to stop him, and to stall him. So he knows that he has more chances with you if he complicates your life. Gets you to take a wrong position. Find yourself in a wrong space. Using wrong strategies to address issues. You just get yourself entangled. And then he leaves you in that state of perpetual entanglement where you are trying to get loose. You are trying to free yourself. You are trying to find liberty. He wants to use your strength against you by giving you another objective that will preoccupy you. Because he understands that in frontal combat, if he stands before you and says, I want to fight you, and you know that he's the one, he's not likely to win if you know God. So he knows he doesn't even want to expose himself to that kind of risk, because he doesn't want to give you the idea that you can win. So he uses other tools for his engagement, like deception. As long as his plan of deception works on your life, he puts you in a condition where you are shadow boxing. You are fighting against a false opponent. And he sits down, takes coffee, and he watches you. That's how Satan is. Now, if you are still with me, say amen.